We have got to talk about the sponsor for tonight's episode. That's right, I am talking about YOLO Tech. You never know when it's going to happen. That fish of a lifetime will just come out of nowhere and destroy your bait. You'll never miss another memory-making moment with YOLO Tech. No more wasting time changing batteries in your camera. Capture your memories. Capture every moment with YOLO Tech. Always be recording. Click on the link in the description of this video. Don't forget, use that discount code DECKTALK10. Again, click that link in the description of this episode. Don't forget, make sure you use that discount code DECKTALK10 for your instant savings.
Welcome back to Deck Talk Podcast, and this has been an episode that I have been wanting to be able to get this guy on our podcast because I wanted to pick his brains because he does one of the things that I have tried to imitate as much as possible, guys, that with throwing a crankbait. I've learned so much about throwing crankbaits from this guy, but before we get that started and introduce who this is, if you don't know, guys, I'm Colin Burnett.
And I'm Norman Lee, guys. We have an awesome episode tonight, but first, our guest tonight, well, let's just say he is a pure stud with a fishing rod in his hand. He has filmed some of the most insane fishing videos that you will ever see, including the 5 biggest fish ever caught on YouTube. He has taken videography to the next level. That's right, guys. I'm talking about the one, the only, Mikey Balzz.
What's up, brother?
That's quite an intro. I don't know if I earned that one, but
yeah, throw that out of the water there for you there, dude.
So let's talk a little bit though about that biggest bag. I mean, it was right at 50 pounds.
150, and it's not the biggest bag anymore. Freaking Milliken caught like 64 or something like that.
Is that limited?
That's right. Yeah. And that was out, what it was. He done that on Fork, I think, wasn't it?
No, OHIV.
Oh, yeah.
In Texas, though.
Yeah, I remember because I seen something. He came on the Ike show and was talking about it. And he said that next weekend after he posted that video, he said that lake was packed full of people. But
your weight was actually 49.3, wasn't it? 49.3 ounces.
Something like that. I don't. It was 49 something.
We'll just call it 50.
No, 150's like a 50's a marker. You know, that's like 30 pounds kind of deal. Like it's not. That's what I want to do though. I want to go back there and catch 50. I don't know if it's still possible.
Well, I think your that exact weight though was 49 pounds 3 ounces.
What's that?
Your that exact weight was 49 pounds 3 ounces.
Right.
On Placid.
Yep.
So that's as close to 50 as you'll get, brother.
Yeah, but still, though, 50 without magic numbers, you know.
Right. I mean, but to be able, and I believe that, and which I've fished Placid a couple times, 4 or 5 times with Norman, and that is a special lake down there that I've deeply enjoyed, and what's funny is. Like I had up until here, probably what was it about 2.5 months ago? I have never caught, even living on Chickamauga and having the bass around, and that we have around on Chickamauga, Gunnersville, Nickajack, and stuff. That I've caught plenty of 9s. I've never caught a 10, and I finally caught my first 10-pounder on Chickamauga. And like for the past 2 or 3 years, Norman's like, man, we'll go down to ICAST, we'll go down to Placid, Escapoga, and June and all that. We're going to put you around some 10-pounders, and which I've hooked them on. What was that? It was Placid, wasn't it? The first one that I hung up.
The first fish he set the hook on, it ended up pulling off, and I told him, I said, dude, that could have been your 10-pounder. and the tank, and it was like,
and so, but. That is a very special place. I mean, especially with right in that area, you got so many different lakes, and each lake is, I mean, what Escapoga is more or less like a miniature Okeechobee.
It was like
a little different than that, but yeah.
A little bit different, but sort of similar.
Right.
It's a swamp. It's super shallow. And then you got your deeper lakes. And there's something, and I think Norman knows this too, and I've talked to like Brandon Medlock about it and there's something with that line, because on Okeechobee itself, I mean, there's 10 pounders, you know, and like we had an 11 pounder caught in the Gambler Free tournament some years ago. And there's giants, but it just doesn't, it almost seems like it's too warm throughout the year. But there's something that happens like right around that line, like Highlands County North, like, you know, to like Kissimmee to, you know, Harris County. There's something like with the latitude lines and the weather where they just grow big. From like, right. That's where you get your double digits and that from there up kind of thing. And there's something magical about all those lakes in that stretch. There's just bigs, dude, and they grow them fast too.
Yeah, and I mean, Norman and I think like people that's from that area and stuff kind of take it for advantage, because for myself and even being around Chickamauga, I mean, it is tough catching a 10 pound. I mean, even trying to get that 10 pounder. I mean, I've been on Chickamauga since '99, and I grew up in the Nashville area, and thinking about, even at that time, thinking about catching a 10 pounder was like, yeah, right, that ain't going to happen. Old Hickory Lake, I mean, if you catch one that's 4 or 5 pounds, you caught a stud.
No, I remember that we used to run the Gambler Free tournament at Flippers right there. I'm sad that place shut down, dude. Yeah. I about crap my pants because we went out, or one time we ran that deal up there, and it was terrible, dude. It was pissing rain. It was terrible. It was freezing, and I'm like, dude, I'm going fishing. I got to wait for all you guys to come back in to weigh in. Like, I'm going fishing. So we went. I think out of that boat ramp, we took a right, you know, right at Flippers, and like 1 or 2 pockets down, and I threw a spinnerbait. We caught one fish, and it was like 4.5 pounds, and it would have been big fish of the tournament. We caught nothing else, dude. Everybody else had like 5 fish in that, but yeah, it was kind of funny actually. Flippers was kind of laughing at me, dude. It was fun.
So, but how did you make that decision from I love fishing, and I want to, did you just throw a camera on your boat? Like, I want to start filming what I'm doing. What was the purpose of you? Was it all strictly to go onto YouTube, or were you trying to use it as like a deal for you to learn to kind of watch what you're doing, to trying to maybe pick up tips and to where you can recreate things? Because I know that's when I started. That was the reason why I started. Like, all right, what was I doing? Because I've noticed like some of the videos where I caught like one of my biggest bass that I've ever caught. I was throwing a Mikey Balzz, and I thought that I had threw it out, and it was just right after like the first couple, I was just kind of jigging it, but I thought I was closer to the bank than what I actually was. And then when I realized going back that it was actually about halfway back from, what was the reason why you started putting a camera on the boat to start filming yourself?
So a couple reasons. So I've always been sort of into like technology and how it enables like average, normal, like non-important people to break through certain like barriers or ceilings and things like that. Like technology, for as much as like the internet is all porn, there's also sort of like things that happen because the internet that enabled people to access things that they wouldn't be able to, you know, to reach things, reach people. So I've always been into the technology stuff. So playing around with cameras was always cool. The other thing is I'm lazy. So I would write like fishing reports, right? And I'd write them out in like a Microsoft Word thing. And it was great and all, like, you know, where, water temp, weather, baits, and all that shenanigans. But dude, it's obnoxious. I hate, like, you get home, it's like cleaning fish after you go fishing for the day. Hate it, dude. You get home, you spend like 45 minutes writing all this crap down, and then you go back and look at it, and I wouldn't say it's incoherent, but it's not very detail oriented. It's not very particular. You know, there's only so many details you can capture using words. So what I actually initially did was I put the camera on the boat to act as sort of like a video fishing journal. So I was up at UF, and they had this lake that you could get access to if you were a student. So I would rent one of their John boats and put a trolling motor on, put the camera on, and that's how I would keep my fishing log. is like it would be I'd archive footage from every day, every fish catch. There'd be date, size of fish, bait that was used, and I'm like, this is far more valuable because I can archive and organize this throughout like a variety of folders, month by month, year by year, and basically go back and be like, hey, what was I doing in March of 2008?
Right.
In April of 2000. And so that's how it kind of started, because I didn't really have like my old man wasn't into fishing, and like, so I didn't have any like mentor or somebody to teach me. And I always felt like these guys were just giving us BS. Like I grew up in the prime time of like the Bassmaster, like printed stuff,
Right.
FLW printed, and they did some decent stuff, but a lot of it is jargon, dude. It was, they'd walk around the subject. It'd be lies by omission. It was obnoxious. So I was like dying for like some kind of information. So my goal with the whole, and this was 2009, and it was Google Video. Google hadn't even bought YouTube yet. So basically my concept was real simple. It was very puristic, but whatever. It's, I'm going to capture this content. It's going to be my fishing log. I'm going to put it on the web. I'm going to share my perspective, share the things that I've learned, and maybe other people are going to do the same thing. Then I can glean from them. They can glean from me. And those of us who have an honest, direct source of genuine, credible information, all of a sudden we can take and give whatever we want. So that was the general concept.
Yeah. Now, when you first started out, you're definitely a little bit more simpler than you are today. Nowadays, kind of drones and probably multiple cameras. And one thing I've always found, like with me and Colin out on the water doing our filming, of course, you're at the next level. I mean, you're way beyond where we are.
He's probably like 2 or 3 levels above us normally.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're way up there on the excellent of what you do, Mikey. But how much extra time does it go in for you to get everything set up as far as that actually pulls away from the actual fishing of your day versus, because you're basically your own cameraman, you're the star of your show, you do it all. And how much time is pulled away from your actual fishing to actually do the video end of making a video on the water for the day?
So I think and you've probably, both of you guys have probably experienced this too. I think there's a twofold way of looking at that, because there's sort of what I would call like time capital, which is literally like, time like on the water, but then there's also like fishing versus creative capital. So when I'm talking about time capital, I get out to the lake. It takes me, I got to pack all the, like I'm actually got my camera bag right here. I'm charging stuff. I got to pack it all in the truck. To get set up, it takes me 15 to 20 minutes. And then you got to shoot an intro or something when you get out there. That can take like 10 to 20 minutes. So you're already probably like 45 minutes deep. Then at the end of the day, you got to unpack. You have to turn the camera on and off. I figured out some ways around like I use battery packs instead of batteries. So I've tried to make the process as efficient and as nonstop as possible. And there's definitely improvements compared to the stuff we were using like 5, 8, 6, 7 years ago. It's 1,000 times easier to do this than it was. Yeah. But then the one thing that I do struggle with, and there's no good solution because it's just like fishing, it's decisions. Sometimes I'll want to shoot, let's say like a video that has a theme. You'll catch a few fish and you're like, man, this spy bait deal or this gambler punching deal or something like this crankbait deal is pretty cool. I really want to go all in on it and focus on it. It would be a cool video. And that's kind of like the rationalization. Well, a lot of times instead of staying sort of open, adaptive, you go down that road for the video and all of a sudden, dude, you come up short. Like the day goes to crap, and it was a bad decision. And you threw away like a third, a half of a day because you chased the rabbit down the hole. And now like, instead of you just kind of going out and fishing and trying to get bites, instead of trying to create a story or find a story, it screws you up. So that's kind of the creative capital versus fishing capital that you have to spend. So yeah, there's a lot of different time costs and it can get frustrating, but when it works, dude, it's awesome. It feels like you won something, So
now how do you go about like in your mind, and this is one thing that I'm trying to for myself with my videos of trying to have a script kind of out, trying to plan out. Do you do that, or do you just kind of just, because I've done that a couple of times, and I've done exactly like what you just said, to where I've spent 3/4 of a day and I've only got like 3 or 4 fish catches on there, but and I've seen to where, I mean, everywhere you think that you see that, like, all right, you got to have it scripted out and stuff like that, and I'm like, that don't work for fishing. It does not, because I think a good video should show the transition of what's going on in your mind about, all right, this is what I was wanting to come out and try to do, but that bite's not happening right now. Let's transition to something else.
Yeah, I mean, capturing that. I go out and just let it be organic. Like,
yeah,
I don't even catch the transition thing. It's more like, unless I know something that's going on, like I already pre-fished something, like I just go out and kind of, you catch a few fish this way and you're like, hey, this could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then you develop it. The other thing that I've been doing, so I wanted to make everything in this process, as you guys probably know, is about streamlining and efficiency. It's about creating a volume of content, doing it in a fluid, not hugely time-consumptive way, and creating a process and a flow that works for you, and a workflow that you can keep doing and doing. You get different out products. You get different product out of it, but it's a process you can implement. So one of the things that I've been doing is, I don't want to always follow, like, chase a template. Like, if I catch a crankbait fish, I don't want to throw a freaking crankbait all day. I want to, like you said, bounce around, be adaptive, be, just kind of get a feel for the water and do your own thing. So what I've done too is, some of these days I'll take like a me day, and it's not so much that I'm not like shooting video. I'm always shooting video, but I'll just go out and fish. I'll capture all the fish catches on my chesty, and then I have a Tato mount at my graphs and then on the back. So I have kind of 2 different perspectives. And instead of trying to force some narrative or figure something out, what I've been trying to do is kind of just draw lessons, things that I pick up, and then I go back. And what I found is, when I'm actually reflecting on these and I'll do like a talking video or something, I'll use the clips from that day, and it provides like a lot more in-depth, better perspective look at what's going on, versus trying to sort of force something on the water. I think there's a lot more insights, personal insights for me, when I actually look at it. And so I've been trying to do that, which makes you a lot looser on the water to kind of do what you want. You're not forced into a narrative, and it's easier to produce stuff. You can't always do that, but there's all these little different formats you can use to just make it so you're having fun fishing. You're sort of able to be fluid, but you're still getting that content that you need out of it.
Right. Now, what has been your biggest adjustment from when you live down in Florida, which we know that you still go down to Florida every year, but what has been the biggest adjustment that you've had to overcome from being down in Florida to now living up in Alabama?
Seasons.
So with the dealing with the seasons, does it also, how was the current? Because I know a lot of guys that's from Florida kind of have a little bit of difficulties with picking up how much current really plays a factor, especially like in the TBAs.
Yeah, the currents, I'm not a good river fisherman. So if like you put me running up freaking Nickajack or something, all like up in the skinnies, I'm going to suck. Like I can fish current breaks and eddies and stuff, but not like, the stuff Caleb and them boys do, where you're like 8 to 12 foot, like in the middle of the river, but there's a freaking rock jetty that comes up. I mean, I know how to do some of that stuff, because surprisingly, Florida has actually a lot of current situations. It's just not like generated current. Down in some of those lakes in Central Florida that me and Norman fish, like those places, if the wind's blowing, you will smash them. You'll be the only person out there, but it's 100% related to current. Okeechobee's the same. There's a bunch of gates out there where they pump water in. So we have some general sort of very like amateur level like current understandings. The trick with the seasons, though, Florida is a very consistent fishery, in my opinion, and Norman can, maybe second this or not. There's 2 seasons. There's the spawn and not the spawn. Like it's, and literally for both of those, I'd say 85% of the lakes down there, you could have like 5 rods rigged up, 3 with braid, 2 with fluorocarbon, and you can catch fish on any lake in Florida any time of the year. Literally.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. So we have a lot more consistent fishery on both baits, techniques, and sort of pattern wise.
Right.
Whereas you throw in the seasons up here, you have just a lot of change happening. It happens at different gradients, as you know. Like this year's been a slow change, right? Like, dude, we had freaking late summer for like 3.5 months. Like, it's freaking November, dude, and these fish are still. I still got fish on ledges. It was dumb. Like, I didn't like it. Like, it wasn't very. But you know what I mean? Like, usually there is more of a chunk. That's why everybody likes to fish in like early summer here in midsummer, because it's the only time of the year where for like basically 2 months the same thing is happening every freaking day with slight variations, but it's the same deal. So the seasons were definitely difficult because the fish do move around a lot more up here. They're not depth wise as well as vegetation wise. There's a lot more migration and change that happens throughout the year versus Florida.
Yeah, when you were thinking about making the move up here, what went into the decision factor of where you're going to go? Now, I think you're in the Guntersville area, right?
I'm in Huntsville, but yeah.
Did you have past history on the lakes up here that kind of went into your decision of where to go when you're going to make the move out of Florida, or what kind of was
kind of? You guys know JT Kenny, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I run a lot of his social media, shoot a lot of his video content and all that. And me and JT, we've been buddies for years, dude. Like, he's such a good dude. So years ago, we would film like around Palm Bay area and all that, go to K-Ville and stuff. And he's like, bro, we need to get some like content outside of Florida. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's do it. And he was one of, it's funny because he doesn't get credit for it. Like Mark, we always hear about Mark Rose and Kevin Van Dam, like with the early ledge fishing guys. And JT, dude, was a hammer, like with ledge fishing and offshore fishing. He was doing that before it was #cool, like thick rim glasses kind of deal. So he was always up here. He would come to Guntersville. He loved Pickwick. He would do a little bit on Wilson, not so much Chick. But basically he used to love fishing up here. So he's like, let's go up. We'll spend 1 week. And we did it for like 2 years, I think, where we spent 1 week and we went from, I always say the freaking name wrong. It's whatever, this little town over west of Florence on Pickwick. And what is it called? I always forget about it. And this other dude who lives over there makes fun of me. In any case, so we would stay over there. Then we'd stay at, I think it's like Fisherman's Resort on Wilson. And we'd basically make our way eastbound. There was 1 year we ended up at Douglas with all that long lining stuff, which was super cool. We'd spend like a day at Guntersville. It was badass, dude. So, up here, the TVA, I don't know if you guys have been on Pickwick. Personally,
I haven't been on it in a long time.
So I personally, all these lakes are beautiful. I think Pickwick, dead of summer, like in the haze and stuff, is the most beautiful lake on the TVA. It's like gorgeous.
Yeah.
Dude. It's so simple and serene. But in any case, it was beautiful up here. I'm kind of a city dude, so we would go through Huntsville. I flew out of Huntsville once, and I'm like, this is like Metro. This isn't what everybody describes as like Alabama, you know? So what we ended up doing, not to get too long-winded, but basically I had to convince the girl to come up here. She owed me a move, actually, because I had moved for her once. And so we took a road trip, and we did a road trip up to Florence, Muscle Shoals area, and we basically came 72 straight across. And we're like, one of these places I would like to live in. What do you think of them? What's your take? Obviously, her getting a job, she works kind of in a specialized scientific field, was an important sort of aspect. So we went from there to Huntsville, went over to Chattanooga, and then we actually looked at North Carolina as well, Raleigh, North Carolina. And basically just decided like Huntsville is a growing place. It's a perfect fit. It reminds me a lot of like a young Tampa. It's pretty progressive, but at the same time, it's kind of country, and I have access from where we live. I'm 50 minutes from Wilson, an hour 15 from McFarland, which is Pickwick. I'm 2.5 hours, 2.25 hours from you guys at the very lower end of the lake. but I'm like an hour 45 from Nickajack. I'm an hour from Gunnersville, hour from Smith. You know, I can even go. I don't know if you guys know like Tim's Ford, Normandy, and that. I'm like an hour to an hour and a half from all those too. So I got a lot like just in a circle around me.
Yeah, and I mean, and you being right there where you're at, you're in a great location for one to do what you love to do, as in smashing some big old greenfish.
Yeah.
But you're in a prime location to be able to smash some pretty good brown fish too.
Yeah, at certain times of the year, dude.
Yeah. So
I don't know how I feel about these these Tennessee smallmouth though, where they're like 4 feet long and like that fat, dude. Long, skinny things, dude.
They're not the footballs that you see from up north.
No, except the ones on Wilson get pretty like Wilson, the real TVA ones. But you go to these like like basically spotted bass lakes that have smallmouth instead of spots, and dude, they look like some torpedo looking things, dude. Yeah. They're kind of funny looking.
Yeah. That's I talked to our buddy Caleb Bell, and he's like, man, because I sent him some pictures of some smallmouth that Norman and I had gotten on to, and so we got to talking about like going up to Michigan and hanging out with
Benjamin
Nowak. Yeah. And he says, man, I got to get you up there. He said,
dude, it's stupid.
And he's like, the smallmouth down here, I mean, because I was stoked, I mean, if we get an 18-inch smallmouth here, I mean, it's 3.5 pounds, and which is a good smallmouth. But he said they're just built different. It's like you going and getting from a Ford Escape going to like a Lincoln Town Cars.
Yeah. Just the way you fish for them too. I mean, the fish aren't fished for. It's gin clear. Like I went to Wisconsin the past 2 years, and it wasn't as good this year maybe as it was the year before. But like the forward facing stuff, there's a lot of stuff up there. Even though the pros go up there and beat it up, there's a lot of forward facing stuff you can do up there that. Those fish, dude, they don't even see it coming yet. Yeah. Like, guys just aren't doing – like, especially where I went. I went to northern Wisconsin, which is it's like Nowhereville, dude. Like, right. And, like, I mean, you'd see, like, 3 dots suspended over a grassland, like, plunk. And, dude, before your thing even, like, went halfway to the bottom, you'd reel down and they're there. Like, it's dumb, dude.
That almost sounds like going deep sea fishing, just kind of just throwing it out there.
Yeah. But they're smallmouth. That's the only problem, though. As you guys know, like even Tennessee smallmouth or up north, I don't care. When they don't want to eat, they're not going to eat. I don't care how many you see. Like spots can be like that a little bit, but the smallmouth are the worst with that. Yeah. Dude, you can be on the perfect pattern, see them, they're above the bottom and everything, and they will not touch your offering.
Yeah. Dude. And what I've noticed is, like how you said, the spots can be like that. Spots are easier to get. I love fishing for smallmouths when there is spots around because I could get the spots turned on. And once I get the spots turned on, then the smallmouths are going to, they're going, all right, what's going on? Yep. And then I can get them turned on a whole lot easier.
That's half my fishing philosophy, like this time of year, because we've had really good spotted bass fishing on Gunnersville. Like, I think not this past week because I wasn't out there. The week before, and for Gunnersville, I think this is pretty good. I had like 5 fish, all of them over 3.5 pounds, spots, like main lake spots, dude. Not river spot, not like up at the dam, like open water freaking spots, dude, like camera spots. But that's what we've been doing too, because these spots are grouping up, and if you can get the spots to group up, you'll piss your pants because you're sitting there, you catch like say a 1.25 or 2 pound spot in that, and you get them to group up, and your next bite is a 4.5 pound largemouth. Yeah. And literally the spots got them all fired up, or the spots were on the bait, then the largemouth hang out outside and they come over. But it's if you can dial it in and do that, it's the easiest pickings ever, dude.
Yeah. Now, what is, because I know you love to crankbait it, is do you more so in the wintertime up here? Do you throw a lot more crankbaits than typical, like in the summer, or
I'll
are
throw them
you?
whenever I can. It's funny you mention it, Colin. Like this past summer, I think I caught 12 fish on a crankbait, which is
Wow,
insane. That
yeah,
like not that many. They're all
no,
big.
it's not a lot. I mean,
It's not a lot. I
no,
don't know if you guys have been seeing this on Chick, and part of it's the current thing, but everything's been suspended. And I don't know if
yeah,
we're looking for more suspended fish because we have the forward facing, like chicken or the egg, or if they're actually freaking suspended. Because of the pressure, I don't freaking know. But I haven't caught much doing that. My juice for throwing a crankbait is really like nowish. But our water, I don't know what Chick looks like, but our water is like freaking gin clear, dude. And them
yeah,
fish are not. So the water temp is still up. Like I saw 59 degrees on Smith Lake the other day. I know the TVA is a little bit cooler than that, but it's
yeah.
warm and it's gin clear. Like them fish are still. I caught fish in 35 on the TVA in 35 feet of water 2 weeks ago, dude. Like
That's
largemouth
crazy.
and spots
Yeah,
mixed, not just spots. So I haven't seen us, and we have a bunch of grass left. So
yeah,
you have a bunch of grass laying around. So where you would throw a shallow crank, like I can throw that fritz side a bit and stuff like that. But there's a ton of grass shallow. The water isn't dirty. It's gin clear and it's not cold. And all of those aspects, those things are like my check boxes for shallow cranking in the winter.
right. Now, like we're kind of going off of what you was just saying. Chickamauga's kind of, it's not really clear, but it is clearer. We've had a lot of rain come through, so it's kind of made everything that's coming out of the mountains coming uh, on the end of Chickamauga from the Ocoee and the Hiwassee and stuff like that has made it a little bit chocolate milky.
Really?
But the water temp is 52, 54 right now.
Yeah.
And so, which is my favorite time to start cranking is, and I throw like a DT10 and which watching videos, I like watching your videos for the fact, because one, like I'll watch like your hands, watch your rod and stuff like that to where a lot of people may not. I just kind of like getting into the technical aspect of it to where I might notice something that you're doing that a lot of people may just be watching, just watching you go, especially like when you had that big bag and to where like I noticed like when you was that, and I tell people all the time, like especially during cold weather, they think that you got to slow that crankbait down.
Yeah.
When I'm like, dude, you don't have to slow it down. I mean, because I've done this like I throw it out there like bomb a cast, and then once you get it down to depth, and then just like 4 or 5 cranks, pause it just for that split second. 4 or 5 cranks, pause it. And I kind of picked that up a little bit from your videos to where I don't know if you've realized that you have done that before to where it's that pause, because like in some of the videos, like you don't explain that this is what I'm doing, but I've noticed that was some of the things, and that's where I kind of got the idea. And I told Norman, I was like, man, this is a killer way for wintertime to, because a lot of times, like we notice on Chickamauga and on Nickajack and stuff, that like them big bass do not want to eat during the wintertime. And you have to, I mean, you get it right in front of their face, and that little pause, that subtle little pause is what's, you're getting the reaction. Their natural reaction is coming off of that little pause.
And then when you start cranking it again from that pause, they react to it as soon as it starts moving again. They go off that reaction to that bait starting to start trucking again.
Yeah, and so I've noticed that from just watching some of your videos, because I mean, and I tell people all the time that if they want to learn how to throw a crankbait and how to work a crankbait and kind of the little modifications and stuff that they should do on a crankbait, they need to watch yours, just because you do go down that little rabbit hole of, hey, this is what I'm throwing my line, this is the line that I'm using and stuff like that. The modifications that I'm doing to my bait to be able to get to do what I want, changing out the hooks and stuff like that. But if they really pay attention to some of the details and stuff, like what I was saying, of watching what you're doing, they can pick up a whole lot more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible, but in the end, like, you got to kind of.
Well, you don't have that time really to break down, to go down and break that down as much. And, but I mean, I've learned so much. Like we talked before, like one of the biggest things that I've picked up from yours is your screens and stuff. I mean, when we was talking earlier, like you've got a video to where, like, you're like, hey, the pros don't want you to know. And I was like, all right, whatever. Let's see what this video's about.
This guy, you know, his freaking mouth.
right. This is all just, I thought it was just clickbait stuff, to be honest.
I mean, it was, but it got you, didn't it?
So. Yeah. And so, but then, like, I was watching and, like, guys, and if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. And because this has really helped me out to be able to find fish a whole lot better, and especially like if you're and correct me if I'm wrong, Mikey, if you're just now, like, maybe you have not had a boat, or you trying to figure out like how to read side scan and really what's that black column, to do this to where you have, like, on most screens you can have 3 different pictures on it, and or at least 3. And if you do like the left side scan, have it to where it's just that, and then you're down imaging, and then the right side is just strictly the right. It makes it bigger to where you can see it. And then with having the down, you're actually getting to see what's in that black area, to where a lot of people don't. They're like, well,
that's interesting. You know, that just goes to show, like, we all look at things differently. I never thought so. A lot of guys do get confused as to like what the space is in between. That was never confusing to me, so I never thought about it. When you do lay it out left and right like that, it visually sort of makes sense that you're seeing the left and right, and the in between is the space in between, and that's where your down scan kind of goes. That's interesting, man. I never saw it like that, but that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, so I mean, and I mean, still today, guys, if you come and you see me out on the lake and you want to look at my screens of what I have, I mean, all of my screens, my front one and the consoles is going to have it set up like that. And I mean, Mikey's the only reason why I done it, because I watched that video. I thought it was clickbaitish, but then it actually helped me out. And
I think I stole that from what's his name does that on the tour, or when he did. Who's the guy that used to own Dayton, or he still owns Dayton Boat?
Mike Neal.
Michael Neal, yeah. Michael Neal was all about that, dude. He'd have his stuff all set up like that. And then his little buddy, his protege, what's his name? The little short stocky guy who won on Pickwick with the hair jig and the eelgrass.
Oh, you had to ask.
Yeah, I see it. He won Toho too.
Right. You had to ask.
Because those guys are good on their graphs, man. I mean, they've been doing this for years.
And so, but I mean, guys, you got to go check that video out. I mean, not just that video. There's a lot of videos that has one personally helped me out that Mikey has done. And so, but let's kind of like keep with that, Mikey. What was it from you to where you went from, all right, I'm doing this as kind of like a video log, to, all right, I want to start teaching all my videos?
See, it's not even like teaching. I think it was more, well, maybe it was teaching, but it was also, I was a very angry child, Colin. So I had a chip on my shoulder, and I'm like, why do all these guys get to say that their perspective is important when I can catch some fish too? Maybe not like perfect, but so I got annoyed with all these pros that would go on and completely lie and do all this shenanigans, and they'd sell stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Why can't I actually talk about something that I actually caught fish on? So a lot of like the teaching videos were kind of, their origin is I caught fish on this. It really worked for me. Here's what I did with it. Let me share the process, how it's set up, and that. And so that's kind of transitioned. I probably should have done more of the vlogging stuff at some points. I wasn't super into that. It never really totally fit. I do a little bit of it now, but yeah, like I just kind of, the thing with me is like, I could have probably made a lot more money on YouTube if I would have made some better decisions and taken, just taking some different paths, because there was a lot of money to be made in that window that I got on. But I did let things kind of develop organically, and I also sort of protected the channel and the things that I did as sort of a fun thing for myself. Like I don't let people rush in and like sponsor stuff and like direct content and things along those lines. So that's actually put me in kind of a cool position now, because I have some people like Monster Bass, Halo, like there's various people that support the channel, but they don't. They're like my buddies, dude. They do not drive the direction of content. I like the stuff that they have anyways, and it really allows me a lot of freedom to do whatever I want to do and let the fish kind of drive the narrative and drive the concepts that the channel brings up.
Right. And another thing that I really like about your video is, which again, I've never met you personally. I would love to be able to meet you, love to be able to get out on a boat with you. But I feel like the Mikey that you get on the camera, that's you've been able to kind of show your real personality. You're not fluffing nothing up for anybody.
I mean, my mouth is a little more foul than you would assume in the videos. I tend to have, you can ask my old man, he's not very pleased with me. I tend to have the mouth of a sailor, I think they call it, or something like that. So I try to, I've been looser and looser with that with the videos too, because the other thing is, I kind of agree with you. Like, why hold up a facade,
Right.
In the end, dude, I miss a fish and I'm like, mother, like it happens, dude.
Right,
like, throw it in there. I can throw some bleeps in there and stuff. But that's the other thing too. I've tried to make the content more just direct. So I'm glad that's what you feel like, because that's what I feel like it is too. So the more I achieve that sort of like that direct sort of dialogue with somebody who's watching, I guess the better job that I'm doing, right?
Right. And I mean, and like, I've got buddies and stuff that we both know mutual and stuff with Caleb Bell and Alex Rudd and Gene Jensen, that it's all like, and every time I talk to you or talk to them about you, they're like, he's just genuine. He is a genuine person.
Yeah, but genuine doesn't get you paid, buddy.
No,
that's very good. That is a mistake that I've made. So a little lesson for anyone watching: if you want to make money in fishing, lie, create a complete branded facade character and sell, bro.
But I mean, but even doing that though, I mean, to me, I'd rather come up and see you at a boat ramp and know that the videos that I've seen of you and be able to come up and chit chat with you for a minute or two or whatever, that, that's and that might just because we're older and stuff like that, that's how we want to be able to go and talk to somebody. But I'd rather to know that this is Mikey. I mean, even though he might cuss like a sailor or whatever, I mean, anybody, I mean, oh well. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, I have
enjoyed that immensely, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Before moving up here, I heard some stories. Obviously there was the pill issues and there were crime issues around boat ramps. Maybe some years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So coming up here, I've heard some of those stories. So I was a little concerned about some of the boat ramps because they are isolated a lot of times. They're rural. Especially if you get creative with the boat ramps you use, going up river, things along those lines. So I was a little concerned. I have had nothing but absolutely, positively positive experiences. Dudes coming up, we end up talking for like an hour at the ramp, man. Like it's crazy. Like the amount of people that have been really nice to me. Whereas I thought, because even in Florida, dude, like you get some flack. Most of the time they've been pretty nice on that. I was just concerned because I know there is this sort of, I don't know what the right word is, not a club, but like, a lot of guys are fishing tournaments. They got their spots and stuff like that. They get cranky if people start showing stuff on YouTube, especially some of the older guys and that. But everyone's been super cool. I don't know if they're afraid of the dog, which they have no reason to be because the dog's a big meatball. But
that was another. We were going to ask about Bog and talk about, man, and that's my dog, like, he loves fish and stuff like that. But I've never seen a dog that has to come up to every fish catch, has to lick, and almost kind of welcome every fish that's on the boat.
So funny story about that. He's actually from. So we lived in Fort Myers. So I lived in Fort Lauderdale for ages, right? And then the girl got a job over in Fort Myers, which is Lee County. It's Fort Myers, Naples, whatever. We lived in the poor part, but Fort Myers is. Right. So we moved over there, and I had a red-nosed pit that is in some of the very earliest videos. The best dog I'll ever have. I love that dog to death. He was even better than this dog, even though everybody thinks this dog's real cool. I used to take him on the boat, though, and I don't know what it was. He would get aggressive with the fish, too. But I got this dog. I got Bog from the rescue. And, dude, he was pretty chill, not, like, super spooked. But, dude, was scared to get in the truck. He'd shake in the truck as we were driving. Dude, getting him on the boat, he was sitting there shaking. He'd hide under the console of the boat. He'd never come up. So it was interesting because all of that behavior is very much either like a learned or adopted behavior, because when he first got out, he would barely want to get in the truck. He'd barely want to go on the boat, and he would just hide. And he must have saw my excitement in catching a fish, and it sort of graduated or transferred over to him. And that's what he became. Because, dude, the initial month and a half that I took him out, like on Placid, on June and that, like, he was not afraid, but he had zero interest. And all of a sudden, like, now he wants to bite and lick every freaking and he even knows when I'm going to set the hook. You talk about, like, watching the videos and learning stuff from it. Yeah, I learned stuff. And I also learned that my dog knows when I must move my feet in a certain way, or if I do some weird breathing, I'm like, like we're about to catch one on a target or something, and that dog gets up, dude, and he's pointing. He's like, I know what's about to go down.
Yeah, it's about to happen.
Kind of amusing.
That's awesome.
Now, real quick, Colin, before we carry on, there's one thing I want before we get too far off the beaten path with the vet. We're talking about the videos. There's one video in particular I want to talk about before we don't get a chance to talk about this, because this blew me away when I found this out too, and I didn't even know you could actually win something like that. But I want to talk about a video. You won a boat.
Yes.
With a video on YouTube.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about that video and winning the boat, man, because I never knew you could win a boat until I seen you and bringing home that boat that you won off a darn video that you shot.
Yeah, I don't think you can do it anymore. Shay Baker put together like a really cool program, and I actually lost the boat the first time and then won the boat the second time. But he put together what was it called? God, I should know this. I don't remember. Uploaded fishing. And it was, right in like kind of like the high time of like videos, people will put using GoPros, the initial kind of step of like the phones and that. I don't even think a lot of like the mobile reel stuff was happening yet. And he put up an opportunity where you'd submit a video, people would vote, you'd win like a month, get a prize, and then you were entered into an annual competition to win a boat. And thanks to a lot of like grassroots support, I think a lot of people around Florida and that, I was able to win the boat because so there's two things that I never thought I would have, like a new boat and then a new boat that I bought on my own. So the first thing that happened was it was a used boat. It was a demo boat. So it was used for a year. But to me, coming off like a 2006 Triton and then before that, like an 05 Tracker, like that was freaking new, dude. So that happened, and then I was able to buy it. I've had new nitros the past 2 years. But yeah, it was something huge because I never had something that fancy. Like everything worked, everything was tight. Like the carpet was nice. It was wrapped. It had double graphs put on it. It was so fancy. That was a really big step. Like it was a big financial step. I didn't have a lot of money at those times at all. And so to be able to have something like that and then maybe use some of the money that you saved to put extra accessories on it, because this was that 2015 to 2017 kind of realm was really when we saw this explosion of like the necessity of accessorizing your boat. You know, prior to that, you'd have a graph on front, graph on back, and maybe some power poles if you're snazzy and rock and roll. And all of a sudden, you know, it becomes multiple graphs. You have to have power poles. You know, the fish whisperer, the little sound maker on the front. All these accessories came in. Some of them extremely necessary. And it gave me some sort of wiggle room to really tweak that boat out and sort of get to the place I'm at now.
Yeah.
Now, how hard of a decision was it to actually to kind of go to where you are like fishing full time and stuff? Was it?
I'm not fishing full time. There ain't no money in that shit, dude.
So
seriously, man, I'm not fishing full time. I work a lot of different jobs. When I started doing this, there was not people laughed at you if you did YouTube stuff or put videos up. So I'm very much a millennial in like a Generation Y kind of zone. So I was always concerned about making money, the viability of YouTube, and so I hedged. And I'm just paranoid. I'm always worried about money because I was like really my parents were like middle class and cool and that, but then I was like poor as shit. So like I didn't. It was just concern. So what I did is I created sort of like consulting opportunities. I do video production. I administer social media. I do marketing consulting. So the YouTube thing is just a small fraction of the many things that I do, which is nice because I've started making some money off the YouTube stuff. It's becoming a bigger part of like the financial thing that I do. But what's cool is I make a decent amount of money in the other things that I do. I've been able to build those businesses and build those relationships. And that's enabled me to choose the pathway and direction I want with the YouTube channel, like 100%. Like I said, no one governs that direction. And it's also kind of a cool situation where a lot of the work that I did on making sure that I had money and not just like chasing this YouTube whatever thing, it's allowed me to sort of now transition in and be like, hey, I'd like to grow this YouTube channel. I like doing this. This is fun. And I don't have to worry about results and returns as much. I can make something. If it fails miserably, I don't care. I'm still eating not rice and beans. Like I can eat chicken and vegetables. Yeah. Like it ain't like poverty because I have other things going on. So that's been kind of a cool deal. It's just, it's a lot of time. Everybody thinks that I fish all week. Like I'm lucky. If I can fish 2 days a week, I'm stoked. And if I can get 3 days, it's freaking like a vacation. But if I can get like 2 days a week, 1 day a week, that's good. And then I work the rest and cover my other stuff. That's golden. But everybody thinks I'm like dicking around and freaking tying knots all day and going fishing.
Yeah. Now, and one thing like I've noticed like with your YouTube channel, and it might be because you have the other avenues to be able to kind of to make money and make a living doing other things is, and you kind of said it earlier, is you've grown your YouTube channel more organically because everybody that comes on to your YouTube channel, it has come on because of your videos, not because it's because you can go out there and have one viral video and then get a lot of people to subscribe, but then they're not consistent followers. But I've noticed like yours is more organic to where you are getting a consistent like following of each video that you come out.
Yeah, I mean my counts are lower. I don't want to play like the victim, but I think I did do something like I've never been like seriously like flagged on YouTube or anything, but there's something I did, whether it's the number of videos or like my average view count across the videos, where like the YouTube algorithm does not like me. Like I cannot break out. Like I'll have stuff that I'll put together where I'm like, dude, this is perfect. It's a great video. It's clickbait. Like I'm able to kind of like click out the title, the thumbnail. Like there's, and I'm not even talking like viral, like 1 million views, but I'm like, this could be like the 100, 250,000, deal. And dude, it's just like I might get like 10, 20K, but there's something that's always, and I don't know what it is. And at this point, I don't really care. I would like just out of, there's very few personal, what do you call those, milestones. I'm not big into like, I want to do this or I want to do that. I want to check that box. The one thing that from a YouTube standpoint that I would like to achieve is the 100K. And I think I'll get there maybe as long as nothing happens dramatic, like in the next year or two, I'll get there. It'll be cool to say that I did all this work and I hit 100,000. I mean, it isn't a huge amount, but for the amount of work that I put in, it kind of will feel cool, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's that's something to be proud of. I mean, like to hit that, I mean, that is a big milestone for anybody. I mean, they say like the hardest thing to do is get that first 1,000, and which Norman and I, we haven't hit that first 1,000, but with our YouTube channels, but like with our podcasts and stuff, like when we do a live podcast, we're seeing an average during that hour span that we're hitting in between, like it was 900 to 1,100. Now it's more or less to 1,000 to 1,300.
That's awesome.
People watching it live.
You got to remind people to like and subscribe, so you're not missing out on any of those opportunities to build the audience, dude.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think that we kind of get tied up with everybody, like just talking fishing and stuff like that we totally forget about it. And because I mean, yeah, we want to be able to do this and make some kind of an income off of it. But we just enjoy having people on like yourself and like Shaw Grisby, Patrick Walters, David Fritz, and stuff like that come on here, and then to have like with having you come on here and talking about the differences in between Florida and talking about the difference in between TVA and stuff like that. We enjoy having that, and we enjoy talking fishing, period. But
I mean, it's a lot funner than going to work, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than if we can make a dollar off of it. I mean, it'd be a lot better than throwing Little Debbie cakes.
And you know what? That's the whole game too. Because like, I'm not going to be rich doing this. You know, like, and I was definitely like super poor when I first started out. But there is a sort of like an intrinsic value and like a reward aspect to like doing something related to or about something that you are really passionate about, and you're willing to sacrifice a lot of that financial gain to just be able to be a part of something that you really enjoy, you know? Yeah. So, and a lot of times, you know, it's the passionate people like us, when you put the work in and it takes longer than you ever wanted to, but you can be freaking successful at it. I don't mean like rich, but like you can make some money and turn it into something, but it's a process and it takes a ton of work, but it's doubly rewarding when you can say, hey dude, I make money off this and I absolutely love doing this, you know?
Yeah. And especially if it's, I mean, again, not trying to do it as, to where if you got the mindset is if I can make $1 off of it, I mean that's a dollar more than I didn't have beforehand. Exactly. And I mean, like we've got to meet so many different people and be able to hang out with people, have them on, talk to them. And I've learned so much since March with doing this podcast, just different styles and what people think of while they're out on the water. It's just been amazing just to kind of collab with them and kind of see what's in their mind, as it's almost like I'm being out on the boat. And like, if we were out on the boat, you might tell me just to shut up because I'm asking a lot of questions because I want to pick your brain. That's why, like, I mean,
that's good though, because a lot of times too, what I've found, like, I don't know everything. Norman has more experience on a lot of those lakes than I do, and he's freaking seen some crazy stuff. And we have different styles too, which is kind of interesting. So like, he approaches something different, or approaches something in a certain way, is successful at it. I approach it in a completely different way, and I'm successful at it. So a lot of times, conversations like that, I've found I learn as much from like the people who watch my videos or the people that I hang out with when I go fishing, like Caleb, like if me and you went out from the comments, as I would like, because I don't like going online and reading and stuff. Like I don't know, call me freaking new age, but like I get bored, whatever. And I try to avoid watching a lot of YouTube stuff because I don't have time, first of all. And then secondly, I want to make stuff that sort of like pops into my head. And the reality is a lot of times we have very like and same ideas. So if something pops into my head and it's comparable to something else somebody did, I don't want to feel like I'm copying it. You can freaking troll me and be like, you copied that. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. Right. But like, I don't want to like have it like a bias in my mind that that's the direction it's going. But these conversations, man, they can be as good as freaking actually like going on a guide trip in that, because you challenge each other And some of the stuff that comes up, you're like, man, I never thought about that. Because if you're alone, you don't sort of like cross that threshold and go into that place and ask those questions.
Yeah. So we had you on here right at an hour, brother. We know that you're busy, so we won't hold you too much longer. But Norman, you got any other questions you want to ask old Mikey?
Yeah, sure, dude. We have a question that we kind of end the podcast with every week. And Mikey, if you were to have one person on your boat, now this person could be passed away or still with us, who would that person be, and why would you want to fish with them for the day?
Yeah, this one's a little sentimental for me, and I might be violating your rules, but I want my old dog back. My old red-nosed dog, I miss that dog to death. He was the coolest partner that I ever had. Slept with me every night, lived with me when there was no girl around, and backed me up in a lot of kind of like hairy situations. And I do miss him. He was perfect. I'm sure there were flaws that I don't remember at this point. But I really, really miss him, and it would be of more value for me to have him than pretty much anybody else that would be like even like a mentor or a teacher. I'd rather just have that time with him.
That's cool.
Yeah. One last question, Mikey, and then we're going to let you go on this. When we let this go, or this video is going to go out, it's going to be about the second week of February.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, what is going to be your bait of choice that you're going to have on the boat that you're going to have out first in the second week of February?
I don't know. I should be in Florida at that point. So, I mean, hopefully I'm freaking looking at them, dude. And I'm able to sight fish. Some of the earliest sight fish usually show up then if the weather cooperates. So, old stick bait or a creature bait on a 3/16 and just daubing it in,
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And that's what I actually like about living up here is the diversity. So one, learning opportunity for me, the diversity of things that you can throw. And two, it's a great opportunity for baits. So it's interesting because once you have a new experience or once you sort of see kind of how a different framework works, it never leaves you. You carry it with you wherever you go. So I carry a lot of Alabama and Tennessee back to Florida with me. So when I get down there, yeah, there's some general thing, ripping a trap in the hydrilla on headwaters, throwing a chatterbait. But like with the chatterbait thing, I've been throwing a freaking mini chatterbait, like a mini max chatterbait, a whole bunch, and smoking them up here. So I'm like, that fish is a lot like a trap. I bet you I can do that on the grass down there. So, all those things, I'll be picking up stuff like that and kind of playing around with it down there and seeing if it's viable, seeing what things I can apply. So I have no idea. All I know is I'm going to work for 2 weeks, like right when I get down there. And then, dude, 2 weeks of fishing. Like, don't try to call me. I'm shutting my phone off. We're shooting a bunch of videos. Like, I never take vacations. So, yeah, we're shutting everything down. Don't try to reach me.
Heck yeah. So, I guess that's we're going to wrap this up. And, Mikey, man, thank you for coming on. And
I appreciate the invite. I feel like I already know. Well, I know Norman. And I almost feel like I already know you since you know Caleb and all them boys. It's kind of like talking to you guys just normal, So, it's cool to be on here.
And that's one thing, like, we want to try to be able to even if we didn't know it, we want everybody to feel comfortable enough to be to where they can open up and be able to say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
And because I think that's how we get most of our views is because they know the people that we have on is going to be real. And that's all we can ask. Is,
you got to change the name of the podcast to the Fishing Safe Space.
That might be something that
don't do that. Don't do that. That triggers me, and I can't be triggered. That's terrible.
So maybe the video, if we all get on a boat together, we can have a video and call it the Fishing Safe Space.
Yeah, I would find that highly amusing. I've been meaning to sneak over there and hang out with Caleb, dude, and do a little guide trip and that. I just have not had time. I need to do that. Hopefully, by the time this thing posts, I will have snuck over there to try to catch a DD real quick.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, not to kind of pull away from Mikey or anything like that, but
Caleb's a hand.
Caleb Bell, and if you have not looked up Bass Quest, you need to look up Bass Quest because he is killing them. And it's not that it's just we talked about it earlier, Mikey. He's not just a seasonal kind of guy. It's every time he knows the right move, when to do the right move. And so we've had him on before to have him do his lake map studies and stuff like that, because I told Norman, I said, he is one of the best of describing what he's looking at, what he's looking for, and breaking it down for some stupid redneck person like myself. But man, Mikey, I cannot wait to have the time to be able to meet you in person. And maybe we might be able to meet up down at Gunnersville, or have you come to Nickajack or Chickamauga or something like that. Or if you're going to be at ICAST, maybe we can run into you at ICAST too.
I won't be at ICAST, but yeah, if you guys are ever going to Nickajack or anything, that's, like I said, it's like halfway between us kind of thing. So, yeah. And if you ever do want to come over here, we bought a house in Gunnersville that we're running as an Airbnb, dude. So you guys are welcome to come over and crash and hang out. All right.
Yeah. Hey, and if you can, is there like a website or something like that to where if somebody wants to maybe rent that out, is there a website to where we can link in the descriptions to where?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll just have them sub and send me a message through Facebook or the YouTube channel, and okay. I can kind of pass along that info.
Sounds good, and we'll do that. And so when all this comes up, we'll put all your social media and stuff up as a description to where people can look in the description and find you, and hopefully help get you to that 100K, brother.
Cool. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you out on the water.